2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is one back. Welcome on, Ray Taylor.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. Happy Thursday off day. This is like a tradition for Blake and I. Have these these off days. We're gonna get it started. Marathon night. Happy Thursday, everybody. This is a happy day. It's a happy day. Dodgers off. I'm running on a nice 7-3. Last 10 games, playing incredibly good ball. There's a good vibe. There's a very good vibe surrounding the team at the moment. Doing good stuff since the All-Star break. Doing really well since the beginning of August. Holding off the Diamondbacks, holding off the Padres. A little bit of a good run here versus the Mariners. Break out the brooms. Blake, how we doing? I'm here with my good buddy Blake, managing editor, Dodger Blue, one of the hardest working people I've ever met in my entire life. And I'm Scott Geirman, senior staff writer. It's good to have you guys. Welcome in, chat. How we doing tonight, Blake?
Doing pretty good. Much needed off day. Was at the game 3 days in a row there. A lot going on. So going to be back on the grind here. I think tomorrow or the next day. So yeah, definitely needed an off day here. It's been nice to have. And surprisingly, we got some of that breaking news earlier today on this off day, which normally doesn't happen. So it's been a little different, but it is funny that it seems like every time we're on, it's following an off day.
Dodgers are 76-52. And as it stands, I think you said somebody put it up. I think that are they 1.5 games ahead of the Phillies right now? Something like that. 1.5 games ahead of the Phillies. Chasing number 1 record in the National League. They're in really good shape. Padres, I think, are down as we sit. As we right now, 3-1. Vibes are really high. We've got a long show tonight for you guys. Keep Blake here as long as we can. He said it's a little bit toasty in his office, so we're going to see him sweat. We're going to wrap this up with an awesome question segment. I know earlier today that Jeff and Daniel got into the Kevin Kiermaier, the Jason Heyward news. Jason Heyward was designated for assignment by the Dodgers. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Anything off the top of your head, Blake, about, right now where the Dodgers currently stand, man?
They're in a good spot. I mean, they have the best record in baseball. It's hard to complain too much. It's been a really weird year. It seems like for the last 10 years now in Major League Baseball, there's always 5 teams that end up winning 100 games. And this year, no team's projected to get there or like playing on that pace. I think the Dodgers are first with like 96 or 97 win projected pace. So it's definitely an interesting year. And with every time we've talked about how poorly the Dodgers are playing, now we're sitting here on August 22nd and they have the best record. It's been strange, but I think they're on the right track now. They're healthy. They've got guys back. They have all the pieces they need. The pitching side still needs a little help with some guys coming back from injury, but overall, there's not too much to complain about.
Yeah, I'm with a lot of the chat. Guys, good to have you in. Welcome in. 350 in so far. We're going to let you all trickle, get us started up here. Dodgers, since I believe the All-Star break, July 16th, they are 20-11. And I think since the beginning of August, they are 13-6. They're keeping pace. They look right now. It's the same thing that we all talked about. Blake and I have been on here, and two of the most, I would say, people who have questioned, what's been going on with this team this season, riding the roller coaster, calling out some stuff that was glaring, some uncharacteristic things from this organization that have occurred this year. And I'm with Matty Man. It feels like there have been 3 different seasons right now because all Blake and I asked for a bit was a little bit of patience. Chat. We had to calm you guys down a little bit, even ourselves, Blake texting and I back and forth. A little bit of patience. Sit tight. Let these deadline additions get healthy. Let Max Muncy get back, Mookie back, Jack Flaherty, local boy, get in there and, see what they're all about. Thankfully, we've got some plus injury news about some big pieces. Yeah, shout out to Luxy. Big time. I'm very happy for him. It feels, can't talk to us like, Ken has to be rational. I know. We're baseball fans. We're Dodger fans. Highest expectations, I would say, in sports. But to Mookie's credit, everybody has played the Dodgers as tough as I've seen in a long time. I know it could be every year, but this year more than ever, and they've battled a lot. And right now it feels like they've got the look and they're rolling. And they've got the look right now of a team that is finding their legs, and they're going to get, a little bit healthier here. Positive stuff about Yamamoto. Front end of the rotation looks like it's solid. We'll wait to see what we get on glass now, but you kind of feel you same thing with me, Blake. You feel like this team is finding their legs. They're getting to feel to that not that super team, but where they kind of have a little bit of swagger.
Yeah, it's hard not to feel like that. My pushback would be there's been 4 or 5 times in the season so far where we felt like that, where it's been like they're about to take off and make a run here, but then they've always had something come up, whether it be injuries or just some regression or whatever it is, things not clicking at the right time. So cautiously optimistic about them still. I think their lineup is the best we've seen it all year, which is going to help them a ton. It seems like the pitchers are trending up mostly. Like Gavin Stone is coming off some good starts. Jack Flaherty's probably at his lowest point right now in the season, and he's still pitching relatively well.
Yes,
does look good so far. Walker Buehler and Bobby Miller are on the staff, but hopefully they get replaced here pretty soon with Glasnow and Yamamoto coming back. So there's a lot to like. I mean, the bullpen has also settled in pretty well so far, especially with Kopech looking like he's going to man the closer role. Evan Phillips kind of turning it around. Anthony Banda and Alex Vesia have been pretty good. Ryan Brazier has been great since coming back and on his rehab assignment. It's been encouraging. So there's a lot to be optimistic about, but just based on everything we've seen this season, I'm still a little cautious about it.
Yeah, that's fair, considering the roller coaster that we've been on this year. But I would say, like a lot of people in chat, right now, everybody watching, shout out to the 550. We appreciate you being here. Blake and I always do. I think that for the lineup that we've seen and the stuff I've been saying for a bit it's just made me feel uncomfortable that there hasn't been a regular lineup, that there's been no, consistent stuff that we've seen beforehand in recent years. It's just about finding that last piece, that rotational guy in there. But earlier on in the year, we were talking about, 4 or 5 players that we could make an argue one case or another. Why are they in there? Who else could we have? Now we're getting to the point where we're just arguing which platoon could optimize, supplement stellar defense to help out the incredible, like the stellar offense. And we haven't been to that point. And that's why right now I'm as optimistic as I've been the entire season, even before opening day, because there were questions about the roster going into it. Now it feels like the front office is making some smart decisions looking into October and analyzing the roster that they currently have, players in the organization. And I just want to give a quick shout out to, Jason Heyward for all he gave to the Dodgers organization the last 2 seasons. Because today that was a tough move for sure, but I believe that it was a step in the direction that they've got to maximize this roster. Max Muncy back, Tommy Edman slots in there. His value is immense, and I'm glad everybody's getting to see it. And all we needed was a little bit of patience, guys. And then we're finally here. So 600 in the building. Take 1 second for us. Hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, please. Share this around all your social medias. I want to give a shout out to everybody watching on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Blake and I, dearly appreciate you joining us on a Thursday night late stream. You guys asked for them. Here we are. All the regulars tuning in, thank you so much. Blake, what are we getting into tonight? First thing.
Well, let's go right into the Mariners series and how good the offense has been.
A lot to dig into there. Dodgers sweep the Mariners, of course. A team in the Seattle Mariners that if you weren't actually paying attention, you would have no idea that their pitching staff is as good as they are and can be and have been this year. Coming into the series, they were the number 1 staff, limiting walks, limiting runs. Dodgers had 11 walks in the series. Dodgers put up 17 runs, I believe 15 earned over those 3 games, outlasting Brian Wu, Bryce Miller, and Logan Gilbert. Without going in, if you were to say the Dodgers swept the series and those 3 names were the starting pitchers for the Mariners, what would you think?
That the Dodgers acquired a lot of superstars at the trade deadline, and the Mariners had a few injuries, and a lot of things went wrong for them, and a lot of things went right for the Dodgers.
Good. That's exactly where I'm at. A ton of stuff happened because we got to see, Gavin Lux continuing to go on his heater. Max Muncy looks everything like he's been and can be. Dodgers had 24 total hits. You know how many extra base hits they had?
I'm going to guess like 17.
15. It's close. Good job. Reach for the stars. 5 of those were homers. Max Muncy accounts for 4 of them. All right. What we're seeing from the offense right now is what's very impressive is that in the finale, I don't think they had a home run. It was, that's something that Dodgers fans and even myself, we talk about them getting so home run reliant that we forget that these guys can get base hits. They can get some bat to ball there. They can have, some very timely base knocks. And this isn't something that we've seen all year, right?
Yeah, it's definitely been a different brand of offense. I'd say at the beginning of the year, they were a little more like this, and you're kind of wondering where the home runs were. But through most of the season, they haven't really been that kind of offense. So now they're kind of clicking and able to beat you in any way, whether it's with stringing together hits or the home run ball. And I think versus good pitchers, you're probably going to need to rely on the home run ball generally more often because it's harder to string base hits together against them. But the Dodgers did the hardest thing possible. They went out and strung base hits together against Logan Gilbert and the Mariners pitching staff. Like, that's really impressive. I don't think a lot of fans know how good the Mariners pitching staff is, and just those guys in general. They're probably the most underrated staff in baseball. Dave Roberts said you could make a case for them being the best staff in baseball. So, like, it was just a really impressive series what their offense was able to do.
Just terrific stuff. Yeah, Logan Gilbert's just an awesome arm. And for the first few innings, it was looking like, my gosh, like I had a buddy text me, and this is going to be a long night. It's going to be through 6. It's going to be a pitcher's duel. Dodgers turn around and go make him, I think, 6 earned runs off of Logan Gilbert. Gives up 8 on the night, 7 hits, gets 7 punch, but walks 2. I got to see incredible plate discipline and patience with how crazy the umpires were in this series. CB Buckner, you got to get your crew in check, man. There's something going on there. But I was just very impressed with how the Dodgers were for a straight series. It seems like they didn't deviate one bit from their approach, and they're playing with a confidence, guys. And I know a few weeks ago, if you remember me saying this, it's one thing to be a wounded team, like to be a beaten down team, but it's another thing to act like it. They're looking like they know they're getting healthy, or they are healthy, and they're playing like it. They've got a little bit of, and it was good to see Jack Flaherty. Good to see him out there kind of stare down Randy Arozarena and have a little bit of edge. What'd you like about that?
It was an interesting moment. I don't see any reason why Flaherty would have hit Arozarena in that situation, but Arozarena obviously took offense to it and kind of started that whole thing there. So I think Flaherty handled it pretty well. And after, when he talked to the media about it, he said, like, that's going to stay between the lines. I got a ton of respect for him. He's a good player, but it's baseball. Things kind of happen there. So we said our things and we're going to move on from it. Like, I like showing that fire on the field. That's kind of something we've talked about a lot this year. Like, why we're kind of fans of bringing in Tommy Pham just because the Dodgers don't really have that fire. And I know after in the clubhouse, the players were pretty fired up with Flaherty. So it was good to see that. And hopefully it kind of sparked the Dodgers a little more than they already were, because they were on the right trend. And now maybe that's just the spark that completely lights them.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really going to put them in a moment. I know Dave Roberts said that Jason Heyward's big swing on Tuesday was one of the biggest moments of the season, if not the biggest. And it was a game for myself that I said to, my family, we were watching the game. I said, this is a game you're going to have to circle, put it on the calendar. I know it's later in the year, but this is a moment where you can say they fought, they battled against the Mariners staff. And I see a lot of people in chat talking about it as a wounded team. Yeah, but the Mariners pitching staff is what it is. The Dodgers had to battle that game. And it was really awesome to see Jason Heyward and basically his final contribution to the team have that big swing. But the Dodgers had to battle against a terrific pitching staff. And it was really great to see them have a unified approach at the plate. And it's just something we have not seen, even with Shohei Ohtani not being so reliant on him and having to be perfect, contributing enough to the point. Freddie Freeman battling with the finger, Mookie Betts, guys hitting and with runners in scoring position, where it was a good barometer for me, where I can be confident saying that going ahead, this is a team where they've got a different edge. They've got a different feel. I really do think so.
I agree with that. They definitely don't have a hole in their lineup right now. Like, even with Kiermaier starting, who's been probably one of the worst hitters in baseball all year, he's been hitting for the Dodgers. He said he feels rejuvenated and he's playing with a lot of fun right now, and it's apparently helping his offense a bit. So, like, they don't have any free outs in the lineup at this moment. And even when you go to the bench, like, we've been talking about Kike getting back on track. He's one of their top bench hitters now. It's a really deep group. And if someone gets injured, like Miguel Rojas wasn't able to play yesterday, they were able to bring in Kevin Kiermaier to get the start, and he contributed in the win.
Yeah.
So they just have so many options now. It's making the lineup what we expected from them all season, and they're starting to really get back on track and figure things out, and everything's kind of clicking and coming together.
And that's a good, this is a good point, that Felipe Jones puts up here. I want to talk about the length of the lineup and kind of what what has that, the infusion of this, Max Muncy, Tommy Edman. You've got Max Muncy batting in the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the 7 hole. Max Muncy in the 7 hole. We're talking 30 homer power guy. Tommy Edman in an 8 and Kevin Kiermaier perhaps in a 9, depending on how you want to flip it. What in the world? How in the world do we get to a spot where Max Muncy's batting in the 7th in a good way, like a joking way? Like we're talking earlier in the year. I pray for times like this.
We got to that point because Gavin Lux is apparently the greatest hitter in baseball now. He's got like a 200 weighted runs created plus since the All-Star break. He's prime Barry Bonds right now, and you can't drop Lux in the lineup. So then you're like, okay, well, I guess Muncy, you're in the 7th spot. Like the lineup just has so many options right now that are playing well, or even guys who aren't playing well, like Will Smith hasn't particularly played well, but he's been taking quality at bats and I think he had a sac fly the other night and doing his job so far. Like they're still winning even with not all their team producing at the highest level that they possibly can. Like I would say most people even would say Shohei Ohtani isn't playing up to his standards right now, and the lineup was still able to do what they were able to do in this series. Like it's really impressive and speaks to how good the depth of their lineup is, like we've been talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jake, we'll get to Max Muncy in a little bit and him coming back there. We've got a couple super chats here. Matty Man, thank you so much for kicking this off again, guys. You have anything you want to get right to the topics, right to the front of it, make Blake and I stop right in our tracks and bring that up. Always appreciated. Kick it off with, baseball games are back to being too long for our opponents. The lineup, especially. Thanks for the stream, guys. Absolutely, Matty, man. Thank you for being here again. Shout out to the 800 in here. Let you guys all trickle in. This lineup as it stands, Will Smith had, shook off the cobwebs a little bit. And he's batting behind Gavin Lux now. Take some pressure off of it. I think that's a great thing for Will Smith because of his season and how we've seen him in recent years have this second half trend where he's just kind of looks, I don't know if it's a little gas. He just has a second half downward trend. And I think right now, Gavin Lux batting ahead of him, playing so confident, looking terrific in the box. Like it doesn't matter who's on the mound. I feel confident in him right now. These big swings look like he can catch up to absolutely anything. He's going to all fields. Max Muncy behind him, Tommy Edman, everybody's getting to see that. I think we're at a point where having guys, or, especially Kevin Kiermaier and Tommy Edman, who's going to be league average offensively, we're talking that this is perfectly fine for them to have those two at the bottom of the lineup.
I agree. That's kind of what we've talked about for the entire year. Like at the beginning of the year when their lineup was struggling, it was the bottom of the lineup wasn't producing anything at all. And we were just kind of saying, like, just go get league average guys to fill in. You don't need to go get superstars. You don't need to go make the biggest splash trade possible. You just need productive major leaguers at the bottom of your lineup. And now I would say the Dodgers have done better than that. Thankfully, because of Gavin Lux breakout, it's put Muncy in the 7th slot there. And Tommy Edman, like league average, completely fine. He's going to play incredible defense with his league average offense. That's a really valuable player. Mm-hmm. And Miguel Rojas has been slightly above league average this year, as he's going to be their starter when he's healthy there. So like you went from getting absolutely nothing from your 7 through 9 hitters on a nightly basis, and then that turning into your 4 through 9 hitters when everyone was healthy, to now having a lineup where every single player, you can kind of count on them to come through in a spot and get a hit and be a run producer for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got one more here. Laura, thank you so much again for tuning in. I love that Jack Flaherty pushed back. I'm still mad. I'm still mad about this too. Now I might be a little bit over it. We'll see how they train going forward. But Laura says, I'm still mad that the Dodgers didn't do anything about Gavin Lux getting nailed a few weeks ago. Hey, I said I wanted to see. We talked about it. Somebody asked me, I think it was, man, I'll remember his name, if he pops up in chat. But we had a conversation about them finding if they were a little bit too soft I don't know if this team is a little too soft now. I said, let's wait till we get to see them at full strength. Then we'll get to see what this team is really made of. We'll get to see when they have a little bit of swagger, they're not playing like a wounded animal. They feel like a juggernaut. I saw somebody talk about, Joe Davis bringing up the offensive juggernaut. Look like they're finally here. It feels like they're at a point now where they're both confident in the box. They're confident as a unit. You saw them have that big outcry or outpouring of support for Jason Heyward. These guys love each other. And it feels like they're finally getting to have some roles, some consistency in the lineup where they can say, yeah, we're sliding in at the bottom of the order and we're going to do some damage. Because if the 5 through 9 is taking care of business, it takes pressure off the 1 through 4. And it's not because it's a pleasant surprise from the lower of the order. It's because they have so much talent down there that we've seen in the past. It's Max Muncy batting in the 7. It's Tommy Edman, who's been just below a league average guy, but has the ability against lefties to be an awesome player. Like, he's got a little bit of splits just because he has a little bit more slug versus lefties. And then we're talking Kevin Kiermaier, who's been a pleasant surprise with the Dodgers. What about Jack Flaherty? Real quick touch on him. What have you seen him bring, in the Dodgers uniform?
Another impact arm to start with. I think that has kind of helped boosted the team. If they didn't have Flaherty right now, I don't know what their rotation would be. It would kind of be a complete mess with Gavin Stone and a bunch of options you're not too confident in. I guess Kershaw coming back now. But, Flaherty has kind of brought that edge of the ace that you need on the staff, especially with Glasnow out. Hopefully Glasnow reestablishes himself in that role, but Flaherty it seems like he's really comfortable playing in LA. It's, of course, where he grew up a Dodger fan. He's coming home. Those kind of stories always seem to work out well, especially for the Dodgers. So, yeah, I mean, it's really good to see Flaherty on this team providing kind of a fire, especially out of that pitcher spot where you don't usually get that kind of energy from a pitcher.
Yeah, Jack Flaherty's a dog. Absolutely. He stepped right in, understood his role. He pounds his own. I'm all about that. I love that even when he's behind, he's not afraid to use his, pitch backwards, use his secondary stuff as a weapon. I love the way he changes the shapes of his curveball. Back a lot of backdoor stuff there. He's terrific. I love that he's got some dog. And Randy Arozarena has had some big moments in the postseason. He's a personality. He's not afraid to get into it. And it was good to see Jack Flaherty stay in that moment, not let it get too big, and stay right there. Be where his 2 feet were. He's going to be a guy, man. Jack Flaherty's going to be a guy. All right. Let's roll straight into let's go Max Muncy. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Let's do Max Muncy. Max Muncy picks right up where he leaves off. I don't know the exact number of games that Max Muncy was out, how long he missed. But has that miraculous turnaround in his rehab process there. What was the final kind of thing that they said Max Muncy got fixed with that chiropractic session?
His rib was out of place and bothering him. So when he would start to feel healthy, it would affect him again, like after a few swings, because it was out of place. So
yeah,
they got that taken care of, and he has felt like a completely healed and new person.
So he steps right back into the 7 hole, goes 4 for 12, all extra base hits, 2 doubles, 4 homers, drives in 6, scores 3 of his own. Do us a favor. Do myself, chat, a favor. Summarize for us what a guy like Max Muncy brings to a lower part of a batting order. And are you surprised at all if it's a hot start? Chat, let me know if you're surprised at all with Max Muncy and how he's been playing so far.
I'll say Muncy himself is very surprised by the results. He's asked about that a few times, and he said his swing timing wasn't there when he was facing 90 miles per hour in the minor leagues. And then he came back facing 100, and suddenly his timing was there. Like, he said he felt relief being able to perform like that, but he was also pretty surprised at the results so far, how quickly he's got him back and on track. And I think we all kind of have to agree with that. I don't think any of us would have expected this. I think if we said he had 1 extra base hit in the 3-game series, we would have been happy with that. And he went out and had 4 and provided some big hits for this team. Yeah, it was impressive.
He's got some aura. I would say he's got a ton. We need some grit. I see people grit and power. He's a big man. what Max Muncy brings to this team definitely is a little bit of an edge. I would say more than an edge because he's not afraid to be a little bit outspoken. We've seen that for several years. But to get him at the lower part of the order bridges a gap. It allows you to, you've got to pitch to Max Muncy because you can't pitch around him because he has such good plate awareness, zone awareness. He's okay taking a walk. And if you're going to make a pitch, just try to float one by. He's going to do some damage. Are you expecting Max Muncy to stay on a tear like this? Do you think that this is what we should expect? I'm not going to say every hit is going to be an extra base hit. Yeah, thank you, Jake. Max Muncy missed 81 games. What from Max Muncy do you expect going forward?
Unfortunately, he's going to cool off at some point. He tends to be a pretty streaky hitter, like a lot of players similar to him. They do get kind of those hot streaks and cold streaks that are more pronounced than a guy like, say, Freddie Freeman or a Tommy Edman type player. So he's going to have his cold stretches and he's going to have his hot stretches. I think if he can sustain the hot stretches for longer than his cold stretches, which he has done historically throughout his career, he's going to keep being a really good and valuable player for this team. And hopefully the main thing here is that his hot streak lines up with the postseason starting. So that's kind of what you have to hope from him there. And I do feel like Muncy is a guy who has stepped up historically in the postseason. So whether we can see that continuing going forward or not remains to be seen because there's such randomness. But Muncy is a really great hitter when he's on, and he's kind of showing it so far.
Going against the Mariners, I like I've said it earlier that it was a good barometer for me with this lineup because all things considered, I feel like this is looking ahead, kind of an everyday lineup for me. Are you kind of on that same thing that you wouldn't mind seeing a lineup like this as it stands the rest of the way?
I think so. I think you're going to see Kevin Kiermaier and Miguel Rojas switching in and out a lot from the lineup. And when that happens, they'll flip Tommy Edman from center field to shortstop. But overall, I think this is their everyday lineup pretty much. Gavin Lux is probably still going to be platoon just because that's what they've been doing all year. And that's how they feel confident in that. And that might open up a runway for Kike or Chris Taylor. But on the most part, this is probably going to be their primary lineup.
Yeah, we'll get into it. I really want to talk, go into the Kevin Kiermaier stuff there. And just double back. We touched on Jason Heyward, or Jeff and Daniel touched on Jason Heyward and him being designated for assignment earlier. He was struggling, to say the least. And I know a lot of people are surprised by the move. And if the move was a bit premature with the roster expansion on September coming up, did that surprise you a ton?
No, I was pretty confident Hayward would be the guy to be DFA'd from the beginning. Yeah. I never thought he had a real role on the team moving forward with Mookie and the outfield. They locked in Mookie and Teoscar to the corner outfield spots, which were Hayward's primary positions. They added Tommy Edman as their starting center fielder. They got Kevin Kiermaier as their backup center fielder. I just never saw a real role for Jason Heyward. He hasn't been hitting enough this year to justify a pinch hitting role or just staying on the roster. So for me, he was always the odd man out. It was tough to move on from him because he's so loved in the clubhouse and all that. And he's been a great guy and a great teammate, but just the way the roster is constructed, I didn't really see any spot for him. And then even after he had the pinch hit homer that won them the game, Dave Roberts was asked about his role moving forward and if that solidified him on the roster. And reading into Roberts' tone, he was pretty upset and hesitant to answer it. He kind of gave a big sigh about it and then said, I don't know if it really solidified his spot on the roster. We have some tough decisions to make.
Yeah, because right here, I texted you. I've texted you after each time that Dave Roberts has spoke on, because right now the team as it is there's not going to be many moving parts. We can only look at, some of the guys, the bottom of the end of the order, roster spots that are going to get shuffled around. And that's why I was like, Blake's been there. And I heard people talk about Dave Roberts' tone following that. And I texted you and you sounded incredibly confident that Jason Heyward, despite that home run, that he was kind of going to be the odd man out regardless.
Yeah. And then even the next day he was asked about Kevin Kiermaier. And previously I asked him about Kevin Kiermaier before Hayward's homer. I said, is Kevin Kiermaier still going to have a role on this team when Chris Taylor and Jason Heyward now taking fly balls in center, and he was like, he basically said like, yeah, this guy's the best defender that we have. It's hard to see any other defenders being better than him. So I do see a role for him moving forward. And like that kind of started it for me that Kiermaier was going to stick around over Hayward. And then his comments after Hayward's home run sealed it even more. And then yesterday when he was asked about Kiermaier again after his big game, he was like, yeah, Kiermaier's making a very good case to stay on this roster. He was praising the clubhouse impact he makes. He said he's been helping Gavin Lux with the base running and just being a leader for other guys. And like, he didn't commit to saying, yeah, Kiermaier is going to stay on the roster, but the tone between him talking about Kiermaier and him talking about Jason Heyward were two completely different stratospheres. Yeah.
And that's something that he's pretty baseline, right? Like Dave Roberts is pretty baseline. Like he's coach speak to a T. Like he could teach a class on coach speak 101, tell us what we want to hear and have it be absolutely the completely opposite in terms of injury stuff, whatever that reason is. But when it came to this, it was striking. Like I know this is an incredibly tough topic because Jason Heyward, he's given a lot to the Dodgers, like in terms, just like, to the community. He's given back to, young guys on the team, incredibly gracious with his time, young players, his knowledge, his time, and his, it's been an addition over the past 2 seasons that I've been very happy that he was a part of it. Last year was a little bit of an outlier from his time, previous seasons, and it was good to see him have a kind of a career revelation. But I saw somebody bring it up that a lot of these stuff was, a little bit of luck. He had a little bit of luck. He was running into so many fastballs. He was having like almost a career year against fastballs, and it carried him to so much. And earlier in the season, I thought that Jason Heyward was going to get on the run. Just never really happened. So we are not excited that Jason Heyward has been designated for assignment. It's just that with where the team currently stands, with the rotation and the opportunities that give up or that are there for Kevin Kiermaier and how much he brings, that's why this is a positive move for where the roster is at. That's where we both align, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, he just didn't have a role on this team, which is unfortunate because he's been such a good teammate and everything. But they have Mookie Betts locked into right field. They have Tommy Edman and Kevin Kiermaier locked into center. They have Teoscar locked into left. You have your backups with Kike and Chris Taylor as other outfield options. Andy Pajes is going to come back on September 1st. So I just never really saw any specific role for Hayward and what they could end up doing with him besides sitting on the bench, and just didn't work out where they could keep him around because they have a limited number of roster spots.
Absolutely. And we spoke right beforehand about, the mix between, and we can kind of roll into Kevin Kiermaier here. Kevin Kiermaier earns the roster spot. He's earned this. His upside offensively has put him in a spot where we both have noted that, yes, it's an impact stuff. Like this is a pleasant part of his game. I said it's like the cherry on top to what he brings defensively, which is a platinum glove level guy. Even in, the latter parts of his career, he's, a 34-year-old contemplating retiring at the end of the year. He's kind of announced that that's going on, and he's still making plays where you say, wow, damn, like he's doing that. With what the role that Jason Heyward had and the little opportunities pinch hitting wise, it wasn't enough to just keep a guy like Kevin Kiermaier off the roster because of how much he brings defensively. You can start him. You should start him. And then it opens up the rest of the bench. What does Kevin Kiermaier bring, and how much does he open up the rest of the roster for this team?
It's weird to say he brings a lot of versatility to this team because he only plays center field essentially, but he does because Tommy Edman is their starting center fielder right now, and he's their best utility man. He plays elite defense at any position you put him at. So you take Tommy Edman out of center, you're losing a good defender there, but then you're plugging in a better defensive center fielder with Kevin Kiermaier there. Like, there's not many times that happens where you're taking out a good defender to put in a better one at any position, let alone a premier defensive position. And then it allows you to put Tommy Edman at shortstop. It allows Kike Hernandez, Chris Taylor, and possibly even Miguel Rojas to move around the infield or outfield. Like, it just gives you so much extra versatility. Whereas if it was going to be Jason Heyward, you're playing him in center field and you're getting worse defense there than what Kevin Kiermaier provide. You're getting slightly better offense, but probably not enough to make up for that. So, like, Kevin Kiermaier is bringing the versatility to the team that they need. and he's bringing some offensive upside that we didn't really expect, but he's doing so far. It's hard to say if he's going to continue that because his career trends are more below league average than what he's shown, but he is a guy with speed, so you can use him as a pinch runner. He's already shown a few times he's hit weak ground balls in the infield that he's able to get on base or reach on an error because his speed is putting pressure on the defense, and that's just not stuff you're getting with Jason Heyward. Yeah, you'll get some more homers out of Hayward, but it's just not enough to justify removing him when you have Kevin Kiermaier providing so much more.
A lot of it for me stems that the rotation and being able to swap between Kevin Kiermaier and Tommy Edman in center field opens up, Miguel Rojas to have those days off if they find platoon splits to sit one down or just give Rojas a day. And then back in towards the latter half of the game, you're able to pull Kevin Kiermaier out if that's what they choose to do, slot somebody else, and then rotate it around. I think that's just the value there is just terrific. So I'm stoked on it. I'm happy. I love the move when they brought in Kiermaier, traded Ryan Yarbrough to the Toronto Blue Jays, and they got a guy. This is a guy in Kevin Kiermaier. He's not just some replacement level dude who's just going to play sometimes. He's an impact player for what the roster currently has, and someone who can finally go and get it. Let's get rid of all the experiments of somebody who can hopefully play center field. There's no bright lights sayings this time around. Andy Paz's experiment in center field is something that hopefully we only have to have offensively, and get platoon stuff there. And I saw somebody bring it up. Does this kind of open up Andy Pages for a platoon bat down the road?
I think so. I still have some questions about Pages' potential role on the Dodgers. I think if they're going to platoon Mookie with Gavin Lux at second base in the playoffs, then Pages is your right fielder when Mookie moves into the infield. Makes a whole lot of sense to me. Yeah. I still really do not like the idea of ever playing Pages in center field, especially in the playoffs, and especially when you have Edman and Kiermaier there providing you elite defense. We know Teoscar isn't fitting, so could just be a potential pinch hitter off the bench in the October. That would make some sense there, especially for like Gavin Lux if there's a lefty on the mound. But I think a platoon with Pages and Lux would be pretty incredible for the team, and I feel like that is something they should consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, again, we'll start teeing you up for those questions. Say we got a couple segments to go. We got one more. So start teeing those up. We'll make sure Blake will be scouring them, favoriting them, and we'll go from there. But again, pause, take a second, hit the like, subscribe, ring the notification bell for us. I want to give a shout out to the 1,000 in here across all social media platforms. Again, thank you so much for joining Blake and I tonight. If you have any pressing questions, anything you want to get off your chest, if you're excited, if this is the moment in the season where you feel like you have the most hope and confidence in the Dodgers, let us know. Toss in those super chats here. Blake and I will pause what we're doing, drive the conversation your way. We've got one here. Yeah, we're from John Blee Blue. Thanks so much, man. We appreciate you being here as always. Dodger Stadium attendance surpasses 3 million. We surprised by that, Blake, with all of the giveaways. The second Hello Kitty night, which my daughter Nora was incredibly excited about. Are you excited? Are you surprised? Are you surprised at all? The Dodgers and their massive stadium and their team full of superstars surpassed 3 million.
I'm a little surprised it's only 3 million at this point. They get to 3 million every year, and they're on pace for a similar amount that they were last year, like 3.8, 3.9 million, somewhere around there. I thought they'd push to 4 million after the offseason that they had, but I think the combination of prices being very high for both tickets and food and even parking has pushed away some fans. And then especially in the middle of the season where they were running out like Biggio as their number 5 hitter, like people don't want to go pay Dodger prices to go see that lineup. Like, no offense to Biggio there, but yeah, I think he would understand people are paying for Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and not Kevin Biggio, Jason Heyward, and Nick Ahmed. So I think there's a lot that's gone into it. I'm not surprised they're at the 3 million mark already. Dodger fans always show up. I'm just surprised it is a little lower than I would have expected.
I mean, you think a lot of that has to do with just how many fans that are always going to games are paying attention to the rosters day in and day out? You think a lot?
I would say 40%.
And I think that's a lot. I think that's a lot. Like, I would say a lot of people just go because it's an event. But like the people that are tuning into our show day in and day out, watching these shows, absorbing all Dodgers media has to offer. We talked about it on here. I said when they were at their lowest point, pre All-Star break or pre trade deadline, I was like, I'm not going to a game. I'm not paying to go, for a 2-hour and 30-minute experience of the 6 through 9 that they were putting out there. I was like, there's not a chance. Now, I'm telling you, Blake, I'm missing the stream. I'm going to this. I'm going to go watch Jack Flaherty pitch on the bright lights, LA. Like that's now we're getting to that point.
Yeah, I would say about like the part of it being an event for a lot of people, not caring about the team as much as just the atmosphere of going to Dodger Stadium and saying you went to Dodger Stadium. I think the prices have pushed out a lot of those people as well, because baseball it grew in popularity because it was so affordable. There's 81 home games every year. You could take your whole family. You could go with your friends real cheap. You could get a hot dog. They were cheap food. That's why they're baseball food. But now you're paying $70 for a top deck seat with an $8 hot dog and a $10 drink. Like, it just adds up a lot on top of the $35 parking or whatever it is now. So I get it. Like, I think they would do better if they followed like the Atlanta Falcons model, where they bring food prices down to pretty minimum and then the fans show up in waves to support them and buy a ton. Like the Falcons brought their hot dog prices down to $1 or $2 or something, and the fans responded by breaking sales records there. So I think the Dodgers should follow that model. I don't think they will. They're paying Shohei Ohtani a lot of money and Yamamoto a lot of money and their whole roster a lot of money, and they do want to make their money, but it has pushed out a lot of people just price-wise.
I didn't even know that. That's a terrific idea. That's a crazy good idea. I mean, of course, like I want to say, yeah, I'd go to games. Like I'll tell you right now, guys, I don't even eat when I go to games. Like I'd rather go somewhere else. Like I'd rather go, like I know getting a hot dog and a beer is like a great thing to do when you go to a game and all traditional, but I'm not doing that. I maybe get a beer, begrudgingly pay $20 for a tall can and live with it and watch a ball game. But a lot of the time I'm waiting till after eating beforehand. I know you eat at the games in a press box, but it's just a lot, man. It definitely is so much. I know everybody in chat agrees with me. Like you begrudgingly tap that card down and say, here's my $68 for, a couple sodas and a couple hot dogs.
Yeah. I think the last time I went to a baseball game as a fan instead of working, it was with my dad to the Angel game. We got tickets right behind home plate for $100, like amazing seats. And then we paid $60 each for an all-you-can-eat food area. Like, that's a bargain compared to Dodger Stadium. And I ate a lot while we were there, and it was fun. Like, you can't do that at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, EB goes, I don't care about the food price. The food is awful. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of food. A lot of the food sucks. They have a lot of those crazy combinations there where I'm like, what are we doing, man? Why are we trying this right now? Stick to the basics. Bring back Carl's Jr. Bring me back to the glory days when I was a kid, when stuff was actually fun. Nonsense. Give me these Wednesday day games with the powder blue jerseys. I'll leave school in the middle of it to go buy tickets and do that. Yeah.
I don't think we had the Scott Yells at Cloud segment planned for tonight. So
no, we didn't. But those are the fun days, man. Kemp, Ethier, James Loney. Stop. We miss those times. We reminisce. I'm gonna go watch highlights after we turn the stream off. If you're listening post VOD, when you're listening later on, that's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm going to be doing that. 2010, 2009 highlights. Just you watch. Let's see. All right. I want to bring this up because Blake has been at the stadium, a lot. And he had the pleasure of seeing, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, pitch and continue his reach back to the team. And velocity measurements coming out. He's touching 96, face live hitters. He's going to be making a pretty big step here pretty soon, right, Blake?
Yeah, so he has one more simulated game to go, and that will be 3 innings. And then after that, the plan is for him to go out on a rehab assignment, whether that's 1 or 2 starts. But the expectation is he's going to be back around mid-September. So it's really encouraging stuff. I think a lot of us were not believing he was going to come back this season. So for him to be at this point, it's very encouraging. I can share. Dodger Baseball Ops was sitting in front of me in the press box while they were tracking Yamamoto was consistently sitting 96. His lower end on the fastball was like 94. I think that was his second pitch or something. His first one was 95. He was hitting 95 quite often as well. So it was encouraging to see. The command was good. He wasn't getting hit very hard. And I did hear Connor McGinnis say Yamamoto has looked a lot better in that sim game than he was looking in St. Louis. So it seems like he took a pretty big step forward. Dave Roberts was very encouraged by it when he was talking about it after. So all things seem to be on track that Yamamoto is going to come back pretty soon here and be an impact guy for the team.
What's your expectation level for Yamamoto when he comes back, or, the slow ramp up here? And my question that I've posed, I think, we had this conversation beforehand. Does he have enough time to really get, the workload that we, hope to expect when he takes him out in the postseason? Do you think he has enough time to reach that?
I think they might limit him a little, like instead of saying 7 innings, maybe he'll go 6 innings or something like that. And especially in the regular season, he's probably going to be limited to about 5, maybe 6 innings max, depending on his pitch count and the stress of each inning. But I think he's going to be able to make an impact for this team enough. We'll see how many starts he actually gets in the regular season and how that goes. But I'm pretty optimistic about where he's at, seeing his pitches and what he was doing, and hearing the velocity readings. Like, it seems like things are trending right for him.
I believe in what Yamamoto can bring when he's on the mound. I know he's going to compete. I know he's going to have go out there and if he's green lit, to take a mound, and there's no red tape around him, that they're not limiting him to what he can do, pitches he can throw, stress to put on his arm. I have, it's, of course, sky's the limit. He's been, just like, Chris said right there, he's been a premier pitcher when he was, prior to joining the Dodgers for several seasons. Slotting him into a rotation, we haven't even talked about Tyler Glasnow, but into a potential rotation of Glasnow, Yamamoto, Jack Flaherty, which you said that you believe that Yamamoto will be the third guy in that mix. So slotting in right there, Clayton Kershaw potentially in a 4. Without getting into Glasnow, that's a 4 that you feel confident in heading into into October.
Yeah, I still want to see what Kershaw does consistently. I know he's proving me wrong so far, but always a little concern there, just especially with guys throwing 90 in the playoffs. It's just always a little concerning for me. I think Gavin Stone is going to make a push for that. He's looked a lot better recently, kind of stepped up his game. So I think it'll be interesting to see the competition for that number 4 spot. And I would even say now they probably have some depth that they can work with. If Yamamoto isn't fully ready, or if Glasnow isn't fully ready or something like that, I think we're still feeling better about Jack Flaherty, Glasnow, or Yamamoto, Kershaw, Gavin Stone than we were talking about like 3 weeks ago, even, when it was Gavin Stone is your number 1 and Glasnow. And yeah, it was just a mess back then. And I think now they have the talent and the depth that they need. And especially if their lineup's going to play like they're showing that they can play, they're going to be a tough team to beat in October.
Concern level with Tyler Glasnow here, and give everybody a little bit of a rundown of what's going on if you do not have, if people watching, listening, don't have, as much knowledge on what's going on with Tyler Glasnow as it goes on.
Yeah, so Glasnow has elbow tendonitis, which they originally hoped he would only miss 15 games, the minimum, on the IL. Then Dave Roberts said it's probably going to be a little longer than that, probably about like 2 to 3 weeks. So it's not what you want to hear, but it still seems to be more on the minor side. I think they're just being abundantly cautious with him because he is a big part of what they're trying to do, and there's no real reason in risking his health on August 20th. So they're being cautious. Glasnow said he feels healthy. He feels strong. He didn't want to go on the IL. He pushed against it. They got the MRI and the CAT scan done and all that, and it showed that there's just some tendonitis in there. So seems like just with some time off, it'll recover and heal, and he should be good to go. So I'm not too concerned about him. Maybe like a 4, 4.5.
It's not bad. I can live with that until we hear more. But with the Dodgers, they kind of leave everybody on pins and needles until the final thing comes out, or they can make a move where you're either happy or you're pissed. So I'll be fine until we hear more. But until, I guess, the red flags aren't really there from what we've been hearing from Tyler Glass now. And Dave, we don't really know what we get from Dave. So I'm not going to bring his comments into it. But I'm confident. I saw somebody bring up the depth and the other guys that they have. I know I didn't bring up Stone in that 4. It's just because he had that stretch where he got away from his mechanics and his usage a little bit. He's come on as of late. Last 2 outings have been great. I love him. I've been a Stone guy all year. He's been a rock, no pun intended, in the rotation because, had that incredible turnaround, started off hot, stayed that way, ran into a little bit of a wall, but he's looking good these last 2. But Landon Knack, Justin Robleski, they've got some intriguing options there. Landon Knack is like one of those options where it's like, if they've got to go to him, if they have to, a couple things went wrong. But I've seen enough of him to know where he's going to keep you in a ball game. It's just same thing as where Bobby Miller was at. We just haven't seen him in October. You haven't seen him pitch in those big spots. But I'm a little bit more confident this time around just because Flaherty, Yamamoto's on a good trend. And until we hear more about Glass now, I've loved the mix. We should all feel incredibly confident about where we're at. All right, we're going to open it up with some questions. Good stream for us so far. Thanks, everybody, being here at 1,200. Thank you so much. We're going to kick this one off here. Rod, who do you predict will be platooning with Gavin Lux the rest of the way? I think it'll be Chris Taylor. Are you kind of on that same boat?
I think it'll be Kike.
Okay.
Unless they're willing to move Mookie back into second, like I talked about earlier, and put Pajes in right field. I think Kike is going to be the guy they go with. That's
not bad. This is a good one, but I'm going to get to it in just a second. John Blue, again, thank you so much. I remember asking my mom for $5 for a Sunday afternoon game, and I bought a ticket for the left field pavilion, hot dogs, soda, and a program. That's way before our time. Those are the days, the good days, when the pavilions had some grit to them. People actually paid attention to the game. Now there's a bunch, back when the pavilions were feared. Those are the good days, Blake. John, thank you again, man. All right. This is a good one because everybody's been asking about it. You have like 5 questions. I'm just going to toss them up each time. Yep, same thing. There's some beef going on between Blake and Anthony Banda. Chill out and well, tune in, guys. This is real. Blake and Anthony have an actual thing. Like they're parking lot stuff.
Did Jeff talk about this on the stream, or how did everyone kind of find out? But the story is we were in the clubhouse post game yesterday, and Banda was sitting in his chair there, and we were walking over to Max Muncy's locker for the interview with him. And I walk by Banda, and he yells out, "Ow!" and pulls his foot back, and he's like, "You stepped on my toe. Watch where you're going." All this stuff, and acting like I hurt his toe there, and then someone else from the back of the clubhouse yells out "Banda, are you okay?"
Get him out.
I'm kind of frozen, freaked out a little bit there. And then he's like, "No, I'm just playing with you, man." So yeah, it was definitely a funny experience. And then after, when we were walking to the interview room with Dave Roberts, Kirsten Watson came up to me and she was like, "What happened there? I have to ask. I didn't really catch it all." I was like, "Oh, he was just kidding around with me." And then Fabian Ardaya, the athletic reporter, told me yeah, that's just Banda's personality. He likes to play jokes and have fun. So
how much time between that happening did you think that you were like, I just stepped on this dude and I'm going to be banned from the clubhouse. I'm out of here. I better, submit some applications elsewhere. How long did that take?
It was a minute probably, which it's in a long time.
But how long did that actually feel?
It felt longer.
Like an hour, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Kirsten was like, "I didn't even think you were by him that close." So I was just really confused. And I was confused too, because I felt like I would have felt like I stepped on his toe or something. So yeah, it was definitely a funny situation to look back on. And I'm happy it was a joke. But yeah, don't do that again, Anthony.
Don't break our pitchers, Blake. You say pitchers break. Don't be the one, man. Stop stepping on people's toes.
So how did everyone find out, though?
How did everybody find out about this?
Jeff must. I texted him. Jeff probably brought it up on the live show. Jeff probably brought it up.
I bet somebody bring it up. Somebody put it in chat. But what level of heart attack did you have on 1 to 10?
I'll say a 4. Because
no way.
He wasn't rolling in pain or anything. It was just he moved his foot back and was like, "Ow!" So it was just a bit of confusion too, I guess, also at the same time. So yeah.
Nah, man, your whole life flashed before your eyes, for sure. You thought that what's his name was who's the PR guy again?
They have a lot. They have
What?
Juan and
Juan,
Joe.
yeah, Juan. Well, you thought Juan was gonna come get you and rip you out of there. Get out of here, Mister Blakey.
Yeah.
Out of here, buddy.
Apparently, the players tend to play pranks on media from time to time. I've heard some other stories, so yeah. But then,
I mean, they should. You guys, you were watching them all day.
some other of the media were saying like I should have pretended to fall and hurt my ankle from him. So I don't know. Maybe I could have pulled out a Shohei bat or something from that if I hurt myself there. But no.
Correct, Matt. Fun. Yeah, he almost got DFA'd for sure. Blake would have been out of here. Absolutely out of here. There's no way he would have been let back in. He would have walked in and there would just been two bodyguards right in front of Anthony every single time. Do you have any footage? Is there any footage around backstage Dodger stuff?
I don't think so.
Damn. All right. Let's get us some questions. Let's get some other ones here. Man, you haven't faved any. Chat, put those in. All caps question. No more real quick. Blake, 1 to 10. How sad are you that the Acolyte didn't get renewed?
11.
11. Okay. Next question. All right. Blake, did you step on Austin Barnes' big toe?
I did not. He was on the other side of the clubhouse, so we can confirm it was not me.
It's a good question because we haven't asked you this. This super chat here. Beaches, thank you so much. Blake, who is your favorite Dodger interview in the clubhouse and why?
Depends what you're looking for. Like if you want good answers, I think Walker Buehler has been really good answer-wise this year. They've been a little more on the sad side, but he's given a lot of really insightful answers that have been interesting to hear. So If that's the kind of thing you're looking for, I think that one's interesting. For me personally, I think Evan Phillips is always the best. He's really nice and kind to everyone, always very generous with his time. I've talked to him just to talk to him a few times without doing any interview. He's a really good guy there, so like doing that with Evan Phillips a lot. Kershaw usually gives pretty long-winded answers too, which apparently I've heard is different from when he used to be. Like, didn't talk that much, so yeah, those are probably the main ones that come to mind. Teoscar is also really good. He's friendly with everyone, gives pretty good answers. So, yeah, I guess Evan Phillips is probably the main one there.
I'm going to agree on, though, what you said about Walker Buehler. It feels like it's not that he puts up a wall. It's that he's so in depth and he's so knowledgeable and in tune with himself and his mechanics and his body. And it was refreshing after his start, his most recent one, to talk about how, I know he said this essentially that he goes, I know I've said this a lot recently, but I feel like I'm closer to myself, like my old self, than I have been in, the entire season. But it was really terrific to hear him talk about the subtle things, the littlest things, his load, the load, his leg, like lower half being in sync with his upper half. And it was just terrific to hear him. So I agree with you for sure. Like, I feel like he could go a little bit more in depth and it would give us a lot. Like, people care about those answers. Like, these guys, Kershaw has a ton up there, but I always appreciate when players kind of open up a little bit and kind of go on those tangents about what behind the scenes, what they work with these, the front office, what are they doing with the pitching staff and pitching coordinators and what they're really going for and looking at start to start. So I love what I hear from Walker Buehler recently. Clayton Kershaw, definitely. He's been gracious with those in-game interviews. He likes to do them. And I know that Evan Phillips is your guy. High leverage honey bun. You'll never get away from him.
I think all the players would like to do the in-game interviews because they usually get a nice check after doing them as part of their little reward. So
Kershaw doesn't need that money. Stop, but he probably donates it, man.
Yeah, probably, but still, nice little check there coming their way.
Right on. All right. Rod, in general, what's the relationship between players and the press?
It kind of varies from player to player. I would say most of the Dodgers are pretty good with the media and pretty friendly with them. I think they're a lot closer with like the beat writers who travel with the team and all that. Like Juan Toribio for MLB.com, Fabian Ardaya for The Athletic, Bill Plunkett for Southern California News Group. Like, those are the guys they're most friendly with, but in general, they're all pretty friendly with the media. And I would say some players don't like to do interviews as much or don't want to talk as much, so they can sometimes be a little more standoffish, but it's still professional and everything. Like Will Smith doesn't want to talk to the media. Gavin Stone isn't really a guy who wants to talk too much, but they're still friendly and nice and professional about it. So it's pretty good overall.
Yeah. Spring training's great. I love that, spring training's got a much more relaxed atmosphere. We've been there, was it 2 years, right? 2 years in a row we went. And I get it's a very relaxed atmosphere in spring training. But a lot of guys are there to just come in, do their work, and be done. And some will actually hang out. You get a lot more personal side of them, I would say. You can speak to a lot of players who might be on the roster bubble, guys coming in as non-roster invitees. You get to speak with them, which is great. I love that a bunch. So anytime we get a chance to go out to spring training and get those interviews, get those quotes, find out a little bit about these players who are, some of these reclamation project guys. I love speaking to them a bunch. Again, shout out to the chat. Thank you so much for being here on Thursday night. Any questions, toss in all caps question and follow it up there. We've got a lot. We'll see how long we go here. Laura, we'll just roll into tomorrow. Expectations for Bobby Miller tomorrow?
I have no high expectations for him. I'm hopeful he'll go like 5 innings, give up 3 runs or fewer or something like that. It's hard to expect a lot from him until he actually proves he's going to be consistently effective or even just effective at all in any start. So hoping he gets back on track, because like the talent is all there. He just needs to put it together and throw strikes and kind of keep his composure on the mound. So I don't have high expectations yet, but we'll see.
Where you stand on Bobby Miller in a postseason spot? Is it even a thought?
No, not at this moment right now.
I agree.
We're talking about like Gavin Stone as their 5th starter for the postseason. There's just no room for him. Their bullpen's pretty deep at this moment, so
just lacks the command. He just lacks the command. Like if he had any okay command, anything at all, it's just this season. You can kind of chalk it up. It's just going to be a learning experience and go from there, which is very, very disheartening for him. I think you just have to look ahead towards next season and have a big off season. Yeah, absolutely. Hawaiian Kira, I'm with this. He needs an off season to start early. He's got to get to work there. It's the situation, say like Walker Buehler ran into this early on in his career. This is a thing like without the injuries, without the elbow stuff. We're talking like Bobby Miller needs to have a big off season, find out what he's got, what's good about it, and focus on that and go from there, because metrics on his changeup are solid. It's just about commanding the stuff, having competitive pitches consistently throughout a game, and he just doesn't have it. So I know we talked about between Walker Buehler and Bobby Miller about who do you have more confidence in. It's okay to, I think it's safe to say none at this point. Neither, regardless.
Are we going to have to pick one here though?
No. Earlier on, we talked about it like a month, 2 months ago, that it was like, which one do you have any like, and I'm not asking to pick. Then it was like Bobby Miller had a little bit more of a runway. Stuff was playing up a little bit more. You still saw the ability that he's had those flashes. Walker Buehler just didn't have those metrics. Stuff behind it just wasn't there. Now it's like Bobby Miller, same exact thought. Doesn't have enough time. All right. John, again, thank you so much for the super chat. Same thing, guys. Have anything pressing you want to toss up? Kirsch is 37 strikeouts away from 3,000. Does he get it there in 2024?
I'm going to say no. He doesn't have the swing and miss stuff to consistently to get that going for him. I think it would be close. He has a chance, but I'm going to say no.
I agree with that. How many more starts can he possibly have before the end of the season?
5 or 6.
5 or 6?
Yeah. So
he's topped out in his last start in Milwaukee. He had 6, and then his first one of this season, he had 6 against the Giants back in July 25th. Yeah, he'd have to have one game where he gets like 10 or 11.
And consistently have like 6 or 7 every time out. Like,
I would love it. Imagine ending the regular season with that. Like, imagine going with that. Like, goes into the playoffs, sure. Like, man.
It would be cool. I think things that will hurt him is he's not going to focus on that. He's still just going to try and get outs rather than chasing strikeouts, which is going to hurt him. The Dodgers aren't going to like push him into the 7th or 8th inning just to try and chase strikeouts. They're not going to give him an extra start down the line just to get the strikeouts. Like,
no.
He has the potential to get like 8 or 9 in a start or something for here and there. More often than not, he's probably going to be around like the 4 to 6 mark, and he needs to consistently be around like the 6 to 8 mark probably to get there. And I just don't really see that happening.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Oh, I mean, Rod, we'll piggyback this one right. If the Dodgers do win the World Series, will Kershaw retire to end on a high note? Absolutely. I don't think do you think he cares about 3,000? Yes or no?
No overall, but deep down there might be a little part of him that wants to get there. Like, I don't think Kershaw
World Series, that's it, right?
I think so, more so, but like, he is also such a competitor. Like, if he's sitting on 2,993 or something, like, maybe he pushes.
We're talking like a Mr. 3000 scenario, like Bernie Mac style. Like, yeah, he'll come back and just air it out and just try to get a couple punch early in the year, and then thank you fans. Like, he might do that. Like, I could see it, but
maybe he'd go the Rich Hill route and not play the first half of the season, then come back to the team in the second half, provide them some depth when they're having 10 pitchers on the IL, whatever they need them, and chase the strikeouts, chase another ring, and then retire after that. I think that's
we thought of that about him. Remember, we were like, oh, if he's just gonna wait, we were like, yeah, sign him second half Kershaw, just let it rip. We've had that conversation here.
It could happen. I wouldn't totally rule that out. I think that would be more realistic. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I've liked what he's done, changing the shape of his slider, like projecting what Clayton Kershaw is going to do. Like, success can be absolutely be there. Beforehand, it was just like, does he have the stuff now? Does he have the approach? Is he going to able to find a mix that works for him? I mean, yes. Like, seeing him develop his game again, absolutely. Like, Clayton Kershaw is bringing stuff now where it's like it fell in that window where I was like, I haven't seen enough yet. I know he had the one good start, but I need to see 5. And then he had the tough run against the Padres, and I was like, I'm going to give him, a solid, handful here to really see what we've got, because he's going to compete. The strikeout stuff might not be there, but is he going to pitch his way into contact outs? Sure. And now he's doing it. So hopefully he finds a run here. Kershaw's our Nolan Ryan. I mean, yeah, brother. Yeah. Like, he's doing everything he can to stay in baseball. Like, he's still effective. It's remarkable. I've said before, I'll die and I'll never see another pitcher like Clayton Kershaw for as long as I have, for my favorite team. Absolutely. I'm going to toss this one up here. Glad I've got you on here with me, as always. Dan Schuster, probably one of the most impactful teachers I've ever had in my entire life. Huge Dodger fan. He actually gifted me Shohei Ohtani's first bobblehead as a Dodger. I want to give a shout out to Dan Schuster, man. Love him. Terrific individual. Thank you so much for tuning in here. How do you see the slotting of the bullpen in high leverage situations in the postseason? Great question.
I think Kopech will be their closer. I think Evan Phillips will be the fireman again. I think Daniel Hudson's going to be like the 7th and 8th inning guy, along with Vesia, Banda, Gratterall, potentially if he's back. And then you're going to get the 5th to 6th inning guys with Trinan and potentially Joe Kelly and whoever else that I'm forgetting. I have the roster pulled up here. I think I named everyone.
Pretty sure.
Brazier, the other guy. So I think that's kind of how it's going to play out. Of course, things always don't go as planned, but that's probably what they're hoping.
What are you expecting from Ryan Brazier, and how do you kind of see him, going in? Or like we don't know yet. We've kind of have to see how his game plays out.
I think he'll be a solid middle relief guy. Like, I don't think they're going to use him in the highest of leverage spots, but I don't think he's a guy you have to be scared of bringing into a game either, which that's fine. You need guys like that. Mm-hmm. I would say for a while, Phil Bickford was that type of pitcher for them, where you didn't really trust him in the highest leverage spots, but you didn't hate when he was in the game either. Of course, he regressed a bit after that, like relievers tend to do. But
Sure.
I think there's always guys on a pitching staff like that who you need.
Yeah, Ryan Brazier looked good. He was effective his last time out. So I agreed. Chat's on that too. Hopefully Gratterall makes it back here. If Edgardo Henriquez, we've chatted about him a bunch on this stream of possibility coming up in September, getting a little bit of a cup of coffee here, but it's all about command for him. The front office isn't going to do it just to do it, to see how that stuff plays. Maybe they do, but I think a lot will be, predicated on his ability to keep the ball in and around the strike zone, just so it won't be detrimental to his development. Because they're not going to put him in an uncomfortable spot. But I think that his fast rising through multiple levels of the farm system this year is something that says the Dodgers have a lot of high hopes for him, and that we possibly could. Outside looking in, though, right now for him, I would say, I'm still not sold on Blake Trinan, though. I still have a lot of question marks about Blake Trinan. He doesn't look, I know he dominated in his rehab stuff, but that's because his stuff is filthy down there. Stuff just doesn't have that bite right now.
I agree with that. I mean, I think Trinan started the year incredibly well. He didn't allow a run for like 13 innings or something. And he's been on a pretty poor stretch so far recently. But I think they kind of have the depth to make up for him not being one of their key relievers. I think we never really expected him to be an elite reliever for them, coming off his injury history that he's had. So you're kind of just taking what you get from him. And if he steps into a high leverage role, great. If not, I think they can kind of weather that storm a bit.
Yeah, I agree. Kira, same thing. I'm on the same trend. It might be that Blake Trinan looks a little bit too predictable. He needs to land more stuff in the strike zone, I think, for him to get those chases, because right now he's not getting them. But if he finds that, we know how good and the ceiling for him. It's just right now, he's got to pitch himself into it. I'm trying to find this comment here. Somebody had a really good one about the bullpen, but I might just have to let it go.
I think
let it go.
Is that about the high leverage closer role thing?
Might be that. But as we sit here, so real quick, guys, the Padres are losing right now, I believe. Otherwise, I don't know if they've lost, but the Mets are going off. So good sign. We are scoreboard watching. Absolutely. All right. Toss that one up. Scott Henderson, thank you so much for the question. Does the closer role mean the ninth inning or the highest leverage spot? It's a good question. How do you see it?
It depends on the game and the situation. I think closer is generally going to be the ninth inning for the Dodgers, but we've seen in the past Dave Roberts hasn't hesitated to use his closer in the biggest spot of a game. So I think that's kind of how they're going to use Kopech, and that's how they should use them. Like, if you're in the eighth inning and it's the 3, 4, 5 hitters coming up, there's no point in saving Kopech for the 6, 7, 8 hitters in the next inning just because it's the ninth inning. It's the same thing. You're still getting 3 outs in the inning. I know people place a lot of emphasis on like the ninth inning being tougher, but it's the same thing. You go out there, you get your 3 outs, and game's over. So I would use Kopech in the highest leverage spots as long as it's kind of close to the end of the game. I would be a little more surprised if we see him in like the 6th inning or something like that. But is he your closer? Is he your guy? At this point, I think yes. I think he has the highest upside in the bullpen. I think he's been the most effective for a stretch of like 14 innings dating back to his time with the White Sox or something like that. So he's definitely encouraging. The stuff is elite. Like, people aren't hitting him at all. So he has stepped into that role and kind of earned it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that he's definitely earned it. I'm just thinking in terms of what Dave Roberts has said, that absolutely having a guy at the back end definitely makes his job a little bit easier. I'm very pleased that they've given Kopech some time after using him 3 out of 4 games here. So we'll see where his velocity is coming back from that. I hope that they don't overuse him because they need some of these other arms to step up. So we're going to see a multitude, just a good mix of arms at the back end here. Man, I see, Chad, you guys are fired up about Blake's hat. We'll give it to him. I know we've had like 5 questions here about Blake's hat. It's always a question. I always appreciate that he's got a variety. Blake is 31 flavors of hats. Talk to him. Let the people know you will let the people know what kind of hat you have on tonight, buddy.
This is an Ahsoka hat from Star Wars. Unsurprisingly, I'm wearing a Star Wars hat. But yeah, she's one of the characters, and her head looks like that kind of painting, I guess, on it is the word to go with. So yeah, Ahsoka. Yeah,
You've been off the bucket hats. You've been off your bucket hat game. You don't
I've
need to
been
put one
mixing
on.
it up. I mean, I have a bunch like here. I have my Grogu one sitting right here. Where that up? Happy?
Yes. Yes, I'm happy. Yes, I am. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nora
I've
will
been
tell me
mixing it
that
up.
she'll tell me that she absolutely was happy that you tossed that up there.
Yeah. So I'll keep mixing them up. I'll throw in a bucket hat next time just for you. How about that?
Good. I think everybody will be pleased with that as well. I just want to toss this up here real quick to wrap up the bullpen conversation. If Phillips is available, you could just always use him in the high leverage spot and save Kopech for the 9th, stabilize the game, applies pressure to the other team in the 7th and the 8th. I think we all agree with this. I think it's because it's a role that Evan Phillips has been comfortable being in throughout his time with the Dodgers in saving Kopech for the end. I don't think that we would say at the back end of the game, why didn't we use Kopech in that biggest spot? If it is the biggest spot and it's a run where there's some lefties in there, I would feel more confident in Michael Kopech for sure because of Evan Phillips' struggles against lefties. But if we're talking 2 righties and a lefty, I'm absolutely fine using Evan Phillips. You agree there? Do you have anything you'd like to modify about what Jake said?
I think that will be the general plan and idea there for them. I think I would be okay with that. I think it's also going to come down to who's rested at the time. We're going to see Phillips in a lot of save opportunities as well, and Kopech's going to get the nights off, and some days Phillips will get the nights off, and Kopech will be in the high leverage spot. So it gives Dave Roberts a lot of options to play the bullpen how he sees fit for that night to get through a game, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think they're going to be set into one specific thing, but potentially once you get to the postseason and things become a little more set, I do think that is a pretty fair plan to go with there.
Absolutely. All right, GI. Thanks for always being here, man. Keeping the chat fired up on, stats, questions, keeping that stuff around. So always good to see you active in there. Blake, what's the status on Bruzdar? And if he returns, who gets the axe? Joe Kelly, Blake Trinan? Is it any of those?
Might have to be one of them. I'm not sure who else would go off their roster.
Ooh, okay. So before you get into status on Bruzdar, who would be the first one to go between those two? And if you have an outlier name, somebody not on there, who would it be?
I don't think there is an outlier on the roster right now.
It's just got to be them.
Well, they're going to have the rosters expanding, so that would probably help them to begin with. You're going to add an extra pitcher on September 1st, and Gretel
and then performance will play itself out.
So I do think that will probably be the route they go. If they say call up Landon Knack or something, and then you can't option him again because he'd be at his limit of 5 options in the year, then I think Trinan would be the odd man out. And I'm saying that because Joe Kelly still has better stuff than him. So if you're betting on one of them, I'd bet on the stuff. But I think it's just going to come down to the extra roster spot in September.
It's a really interesting thing. All right, what's the status on Bruzdar, buddy?
He is making progress. I believe he's set to throw a bullpen. I think that's the last update Dave Roberts gave about him. If I'm not mistaken.
Looked like his leg exploded. I'll just say that we haven't talked about it since, but he looked like his leg just ripped off. And when it just was like, yeah, it's not too serious. He'll be back. I was like, okay, man, I don't know. What are we doing? What are we doing here?
So Robert said Brewster is supposed to throw a bullpen sometime this week. That was 2 days ago now. Mm-hmm. This guy, I don't know how we went from carrying him off the mound to 2 weeks later. He's throwing bullpens. He's a quick healer, so that's a good thing for the Dodgers.
So he said he stepped on a landmine. I mean, hey, if he's never experienced that, then I totally understand. And like, I get it. Like, man, yeah, what a turn of events. What an absolute turn of events. But he's a weapon. He's a weapon if he comes back and it hits the mound. All right, here we go.
I think we'd feel different about that too if Dave Roberts didn't say he completely tore his hamstring.
Tore it off the bone. He goes and tore it off the bone.
This dude out for the next year, doesn't have a hamstring anymore. It's
so
like,
Dave,
actually, I was wrong.
Well, so when Dave, it's like we want to hear the injury news. Like, Dave, what's the pulse? What's going on, Dave? Like, don't tell me about your wine. Like, tell me about what's really going on. And he tells us that, and then we get this the next day. So we know. I think people in chat have been pretty aware on it. Just wait for the MRI, wait for the scans, wait for the seat, like all the stuff to come out before we, panic or not. But we're not going to do that. We're fans. We don't wait. We don't wait. We make actionary takes. All right, John. Dodgers will be vague and bullpen rolls until October. Do you think they'll be vague, or it'll just kind of, we'll see it on the field and that's how we're going to find out? And then do you think it'll come out of nowhere? They're going to pitch them in those roles leading up to it.
I think they're going to try and get their bullpen set for October and kind of get guys comfortable in the roles they're going to be in.
Yeah.
I don't think they might experiment a little. He might push Anthony Banda or Alex Vesia a little more against a righty than he might normally do. Or he might let Evan Phillips face a run of lefties to see if he can get him back on track. But overall, I think he's going to start preparing for postseason play. Dave Roberts did say himself, like, I'm in postseason mode now. We're playing for the division here. It's a tight race. We're all aware of it. So you don't have the luxury of that they've had in the past years where you have to go make a bunch of like panic, or they have to make some panic moves now because they don't have the luxury of being a little more stagnant like they've been in years past. So
yeah,
I think we're going to kind of see a lot of more playoff managing.
I've said, and I don't know if you still agree with me, but I'm very confident in the collection of arms that they currently have. The only thing I'd like to see is Daniel Hudson limit some more of this hard contact that he's been having recently, because he's a veteran arm who's definitely been there, done that, closed out a World Series. He has that success. Evan Phillips maintained that success. Kopech, chill out on the overs usage, guys. Like, I know he's the hot new, the Ferrari. Just let's get him to the postseason. And then unleash him from there and see what he's got. Usage will be the big thing. Want to see some more, length from the starting rotation, and then go from there. But I love the current selection of arms that they have, and I'm still sticking with that. I think they've got a philosophy that's gone straight through, and it's worked out, and it's definitely worked out. Let's see here. Rod, thank you so much, man. Is Kershaw the last pitcher to win an MVP? I think so.
Unless we're counting Ohtani.
No. Strictly pitcher. I think it's right.
That does sound right. What year did Verlander win? Oh, is that 2014? I feel like Verlander might have won it after Kershaw did.
He won the 2011 AL MVP.
So
Verlander
2012. Jake said.
Verlander 2011.
Okay, Kershaw in 20. Okay, that's what I was mixing up there. Yeah, so that is probably right.
Man, what a dog. Verlander's been a dog. He's got some accolades, man. He's got some accolades. Absolutely.
Lance Lynn did win MVP for the Arizona Diamondbacks in the division series last year. That is correct.
Correct. He made some history. He forced Blake to drive out to Arizona to watch that game and text me after every home run saying dead.
I think Matt drove to that one, so I was just there for the ride.
You were okay. All right. Yeah, your vibes. There was vibes, right?
That was my birthday. Matt took me out to lunch earlier that day.
You saw fireworks
to the stadium. Yeah, I mean, I had a good day.
You took my recommendation though. I told you where to go eat. You guys had a great time.
Yeah, Lance Lynn did his thing out there. I got to watch some history. Nothing else happened other than that, but good day.
Absolutely. All righty, guys. We got a couple more here. I mean, I don't know if we have a couple more. We could run this. Sergio Sounds. We chatted about this a bit. I mean, we've talked about it, ad nauseum. But was designating Jason Heyward for assignment the right move? I'll let you run with it because we're on the same thought process here.
Yeah, I would say you should go back and watch us talk about this earlier. And we went into it pretty deep if you want a bigger explanation. But yeah, it was the right move. Short answer is he didn't really have a role on this roster. So they had to move someone, and that's the move they made.
Yeah, it definitely short answer is yes. Like, if for where the current roster stands, like Jason Heyward getting limited at bats, you don't get rid of an option like Kevin Kiermaier, who has a chance to impact the game at a premier position, and open up the roster to other, rotations, other possibilities there. Give you some of your rotational utility men opportunities. You don't get rid of a guy like Kevin Kiermaier, for Jason Heyward, who only plays corner outfield spots, for them to give him a few at-bats every week or two. That's not what you do. So definitely for where the roster currently stood, it was the right move. It stinks, but it was the correct move for where the roster currently stands. And I know Blake and I were, talking prior to the show about why don't they just wait for the rosters to expand to keep him with the team. As I was saying that if the Dodgers don't see him being in the equation long-term or into the playoffs, it doesn't matter whether they do it now or later, because it's taking away at bats from somebody else who is going to play more that they see in their plans going forward. So that's why it didn't matter. It was just like Ahmed Rosario. He wasn't in their plans no matter what. So whether they did it now, whether they did it a week later, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. So yes, guys, it was the correct move for where the roster currently stood. And they got an absolute gamer in Kevin Kiermaier. Absolutely. Padres lost, dub, great day. Off day Dodgers, Blake and I, 1,300 in the chat. We love you guys, man. Awesome day. I still have some steak waiting for me. So I'm gonna be enjoying tonight.
Me too, surprisingly.
Wow. And you're holding the Hello Kitty plushie for Nora hostage right now. So insane. And you're supposed to give me that today. And my bobblehead.
I was supposed to, but then I didn't go out because the camera repair place wanted a lot of money to repair the camera, so we didn't go there.
Godfrey, what's up, man? Good to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Dwayne Sanchez fan, just because this is a hilarious question, I have to toss it up here. How does Jason Heyward stack up to the Dodgers number 23 legacy that Casey Blake left behind? Blake, take it away, buddy.
Casey Blake was a dog, and we respect him. So I think he still has the edge on the 23 legacy.
Casey Blake was a dog. Casey Blake was an absolute, a grinder. He was that, lunch pail kind of guy. First in, last out, just plays the game the right way. All the sayings that you can give to just a journeyman infielder. Yes.
You remember who they traded for him?
Huh?
You remember who they traded for Casey Blake?
Who'd they trade for Casey Blake? Wasn't it Carlos Santana?
It was Carlos Santana, who went on to have a very good career. So
yes. So
fun trade there, looking back.
Wasn't Andrew Friedman, guys. Wasn't Andrew Friedman. Can't get him on that one.
I mean, in 2009, Casey Blake was a 120 weighted runs created plus guy with a 4.5 WAR for the Dodgers. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was a pretty good player. I'm telling you, man, those days were the best. They had so many vets on those teams where it was like, man, at post like
Bobby Abreu, Juan Rivera.
I miss Juan Pierre. Come on, Blake. Those are the good days. I'm going to fire up like MLB 2K9 and look at all those rosters there. Like those are the best times. I remember running home from the bus stop, so stoked to go watch the Dodger game that night during the 42-8 run. Those are the days, man. Those are the days. You were just a little tyke.
In 2009, I was pretty young. Yeah. Like 13 or something.
Yeah. It's a little guy. Chad Billingsley, thighs of steel. I love Billingsley, man. What a dog. And then the, oh my gosh. What was his, the legend of John Eli. Yes. The legend of John Eli. I remember that. And that was the best of times and we'll never get it back. And now we're stuck here with an absolute loaded roster that we're so spoiled to have year in and year out. And we're at the best time of the season.
Bring back Corey Wade and John Lake bullpens, Ronald Belisario.
BC, I'm the boomer here, bro. I'm 31, but I'm a dog. This is the best. Good times. That's crazy.
No, I am the youngest.
He's the elder statesman, though. He's Blake's definitely got the he's the even keel one in the room. Pin Sanity, chill out. No, it's a joke. It's just because I'm 31. I got an 8-year-old. Yeah. All right. Todd Hollingsworth, love that. Scott Radinsky used to run through my neighborhood. I'll give that. Like I remember that from when I was a kid. So I remember all that stuff. The best. Brett Butler. Yeah, man. I can go way back. All right. Hawaiian Kira. I I have an extra HK. What's up for a trade?
Joey Kendrick?
What's
Or
that?
someone else? Bobblehead?
Is that what it is? Is that
That's what I'm guessing. Or it could be Hiroki Kuroda.
She's got to know. Kira, toss that in there. What is it? HK? Break that down for me. All right. But again, thank you for the super chat. All right. Let's see here.
Oh, Hello Kitty.
Hello Kitty?
Okay, yeah,
Oh, man.
That was not at the top of my mind.
Kira, hit me up. We'll see. Which one is it? Nora's always in the market to have another one. Absolutely. Is that from last night's game? If it's from last night's game, I'll just secure. I'll keep the one and stay at the one. But if it's from a different time, absolutely. All right. Let me know, Kira, though. Hit me up on Twitter and we'll talk. All right, Josh. What's first for Ohtani? 50-50 or a no-hitter?
50-50 because he could do it this year and he can't do it this year.
He wants to do it. You can see he wants to do it.
Although if he doesn't get it this year, I'm not sure he'll ever have the chance to do it again. So I guess we're kind of basing this. Do we think he has a better chance of doing it this year versus throwing a no-hitter at any point of his career? And I still think I'd say yes on 50-50.
Chad, do you guys think that? Put it in chat if you think that Ohtani gets 50-50 this year. That's how I really want to see. Like I'm going back and forth at it because it looks like anytime he gets a single, maybe he can stretch it to a double. I don't know. So I'm not going to say he's pulling up for the single, but he doesn't look bummed and he looks, ready to go first pitch. He wants that 50-50. He's going to get 40-40, no problem. But 50-50 would be automatic MVP. 40-40 seems like it's the same type of right in that territory. Let's see here. Yeah, it feels like the Dodgers will never let Ohtani throw that many pitches. He's got to be blowing them down. Efficient, strikeout stuff, like pitching to contact, 50-50. Everybody thinks so.
I do think that's a good point about Ohtani. He isn't usually an efficient pitcher. Like his last time out, he was walking a lot of guys. So I think that is a valid point. I also have concerns about any pitcher coming off an injury, surgery like he's had. So, and even aside from all that, it's hard to throw a no-hitter. Like Kershaw has one in his career. It's tough.
Yeah. Blake, a lot of people saying 50-50, man.
We'll
a lot of people saying it.
He kind of needs to go on a home run tear for a bit. But
what's he at right now?
39. He's going to get the 40-40 this weekend, I think.
He's got to go on a home run tear. He has to go on a tear. How many games left in the season? We're at,
I think it's 50.
50 left?
Somewhere around there. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Somebody, you guys, you guys can pull it up faster than I can do the math here. Yeah. I just want to see if I want 40-40 will be great just because, we were robbed of Kemp not getting that. But yeah, people say that, he's on pace for 51. I mean, I think he's got to, just like Blake said, go on a home run tear. He could do it. He could definitely do it. We've seen him do that a bunch. Jake says less than 50. Let's see.
If he gets 50 homers, he'd set the new Dodger record as well. And he would also set the record for most homers by an Asian-born player, passing Shin-Soo Choo at 218. So,
wow.
Ohtani would be chasing a lot of records and stuff with 50-50 there.
34 games left. It's Jover.
If anyone can do it, it's Ohtani.
Absolutely. Bigger thighs, Jonathan Broxton or Chad Billingsley? It's got to be Broxton. It has to be Broxton. Yes.
Didn't Vin Scully always describe Billingsley as the tree trunk legs?
It's got to be Broxton, though. I mean, I know Vin said that, rest his soul, but sorry, Vin, Broxton had some absolute trunks. Yes.
Yeah.
He was a building. He was Max Muncy times 3. He was a big guy. Matt Stairs, yes. He was a big guy. All right. Let's take a couple more here.
I don't think
we got another super chat here. John, again, thank you so much, buddy. Always thank you for being here. Dodgers have the best record in Major League Baseball. Do you think all other teams are wondering how they're doing it with their best players on the injury list all season?
I think other teams have realized the Dodgers are a step ahead of them usually, and the Dodgers are going to be good no matter what. I think they've come to just accept the terms of it and realize the Dodgers are going to be good every year.
Yeah, guys, we talked about like they absolutely have the formula to just make it happen. Find enough players to do it, arms to do it. And that, sure, it speaks to the quality of players they have in the organization, but it just has like they have a standard. They just have the formula to do it. They have enough depth always to make it happen. And this year more than ever, my favorite spot of the season, essentially, that's not a main topic, has been the production from the young arms. Gavin Stone, second-year guy, and then the rookies, all the young players, young pitchers, River Ryan, Robleski, Landon Knack. Been very impressed with them. Very impressed. I'm not counting Yamamoto being a rookie. He's done it at a high level in a professional league for a bit. But I'm just super impressed. That's just what I'm going to remember this season for. That's not a main storyline. Super impressed by it. Super impressed by it. Fourth White Claw, let's go. So shout out to Off Day Thursdays, man. Thank you all for being here. 1,300 plus. We're going to get to a couple more here. This is a great question for Blake. His favorite guy. How many bobbleheads does Phillips have now?
I think he has all of them in his locker. So he got some shelving in there. I can update on that. So he has them all on different tiers of shelves in his locker. We'll see if I can get a picture next time and post it. But yeah, however many they've given away this year, that's what's in there. It's probably like 11 or 12 or something now.
This is a great one, Godfrey. You guys watch any Little League games? Blake, I don't think that you have the time right now. Might be on in the background somewhere. Have you seen any?
The White Sox came to Dodger Stadium.
That was the first joke I've heard you say that wasn't like a troll joke in a long time.
How is that not trolling the White Sox?
No. That was a good one. It's a great joke.
Yeah, but
none of the Little League World Series games.
Nah.
Anybody in here remember the 09 Chula Vista team? Does anybody in here remember that? Because that was like the pinnacle. I remember like early on seeing them in like the regional tournament, them just going off. And I was like, nobody's beating these guys. And they just steamrolled. Absolutely steamrolled. Yes. Yeah, Laura. That was like all-timer stuff. And like a highlight video came up on Twitter for me. Yep. Chat remembers everything. Yeah, Beaches. Like I remember seeing those games. I'd have to pull up the roster and I'm trying to, but they had some of the biggest kids I've ever seen that were supposedly like 12, 13 years old. Stuff was crazy. But I remember going all in 2009. I was in high school then. And I was like, back in summer, and it was like, man, no way. Those kids were elite, but it's always cool. I love watching international teams, but that Chula Vista team was fun. Like, yeah, playing teams from like Taiwan. Those are always fun to watch. Very fun play style, discipline there. But those kids in 2009 from Chula Vista were hitting bombs, man. That stuff was crazy. Yeah, I'm 12, Bob Nightingale in the building, everybody. Tip your cap. I'm 12. Let's see. All right. How many more you want to do, Blake?
There any good ones left?
Yes, I want to talk about this. Yeah. I want to get your go ahead, pull one up.
One?
I don't see that one. Sure. Pitching aside, is Aaron Judge a better hitter than Ohtani? Thoughts?
Yes. I think Aaron Judge is the best hitter in baseball. I would say Judge, Ohtani, and Soto are the top three hitters. You could make a case for what order there, but I think Judge is number one.
I would agree, man. He goes on some of the craziest runs where it's just lights out, unconscious type of hitting. I think Ohtani's the more dynamic, absolutely the more dynamic player. But Aaron Judge, pure hitter, I would say so. Yeah. What about Juan Soto? Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani? Just hitter.
It's a tough one.
It's a good question, right?
I'd probably lean Soto as a pure hitter. I think he has better bat to ball skills with also the insane power. Ohtani tends to go on a little more like hot and cold streaks than Soto does.
Mhm.
So I think I'm going to give the edge to Soto.
Absolutely. Well, you find another one. All my homies love Blake. No BS. Heard it here first. Yes, absolutely. All my homies love Blake. Blake's a dog, man. Hardest working person I know. Worst baseball movie. Oh man. I have one.
Can I just say The Sandlot and log off just to make everyone mad?
Do you actually hate The Sandlot?
No, I just thought it would be funny to do that.
Real quick though, before we do that, I got to look up the name of this one because it was like a super corny movie. But again, shout out to Backyard Sports being back. Absolutely. Everybody take a minute. If you play any games at all, if you're old, I don't care. If you've got a PC, whatever, Backyard Baseball is coming back. We can all agree that that is like a joyous occasion. Like call your grandma, tell your relative, like Backyard Sports is coming back. Absolutely. Like all-time stuff. People are really mad. Everybody's saying that they're going to beat you up if Sandlot was your like a worst baseball movie.
No, I was just trolling.
Basketball BC, nah, S tier movie, top tier. Oh yeah, great movie, great flick. What's the best one?
See, that's tough. I'm looking at the games right now, or the movies that they've done.
Is
There's a lot of good ones.
A baseball movie?
I think it's a baseball romantic comedy. That's what this list said.
Okay. I don't know if it's a baseball movie. It's a movie around baseball. That's it.
I like Major League a lot. I like
my all-timer is For Love of the Game. Like that's just yes.
Okay. That's my worst one then.
Oh, shut up, Blake. I have one moment every week where I just shut up, Blake. Let's move on to the next thing. Shut up, Blake. It's all personal preference, Chris. Chill out. You're 4 White Claws in, like personal preference. Take it easy on the guy. Yeah. Yes. Jason with me. Yep. Then calling it Billy Chapel. Yep. Terrific flick. Definitely.
I liked Little Big League, I think it was, where the kid takes over as the Cubs manager.
Oh man.
That one was good.
He's Twins.
Yeah.
Twins.
There's one where there's a kid
Rookie
who's throwing for the Cubs.
Rookie of the Year is when, Rosenbagger. Yeah, that movie. Rookie of the Year had the best like one-liners. Absolutely. Summer Catch. Hallelujah. Yeah, Summer Catch. Absolutely. That's got a place in the heart. Absolutely. Jessica Biel. 10 out of 10. Benchwarmers was filmed a lot of it in Simi. So yeah, that was a cool one. I'm surprised have I seen Moneyball at all? Great topic. Who brought this up?
Not seen Moneyball?
I've seen Moneyball. I've seen it a bunch. I forced my girlfriend to watch it. Absolutely. I forced my girlfriend to watch four nights in October about the Red Sox. It's like one of the first things I ever made her do.
I've never seen that.
Documentary. Yeah. Come on. About the Red Sox. Yeah. That's poetry. That's baseball poetry. I know whatever people have to say about, Boston sports, that documentary, poetry. Forced her to watch it. Sit down and watch. Bull Durham. I don't really like Bull Durham. I know, hot take. Don't chill out. Don't all leave the screen.
It seemed kind of boring to me.
I didn't say boring, but it definitely is not one of my favorite ones. Definitely not one of my favorite ones. Great question. Who brought this up? Bob? Bob, you're a dog, man. I owe you one. I'll send you one of my old school bobbleheads, man. I have a couple Brian Jordan extra ones. I'll send you one. Hit me up, Bob. I found those in the cupboard, my mom's house. Stuff's crazy. Yeah, Jason. It's well made. All right. Man, you guys have loved this topic a lot. We hop on here, talk some wild stuff. We'll do some streams where we just chat on the off season, no doubt. All right, John. Always appreciate you, man, keeping this rolling. Worked for the Dodgers in the early 2000s. I was asked not to ask for autographs, but I got my share. Do you guys get your share? Don't incriminate. No. That's kind of like a thing that we just don't do. It's like an etiquette, and in a very fortunate spot. I mean, I can only speak for the limited time that I've had in clubhouses, but it's just a line you don't cross. Absolutely. As journalists, Blake will tell you right now, it's just something you just do not do.
Yeah. I haven't asked. I think Matt got his Oral Hershiser bobblehead signed in the press box, but we have a pretty good relationship with him already. So like, it's less like bothering a person while they're working and more kind of like a friendly thing. So that's kind of the extent of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm being roasted by my mom for not bringing up Field of Dreams. She said she loves that one. She loved that a lot. Field of Dreams, great baseball movie. Great baseball movie. All right. Rod, thank you so much for this, man. What about Bobby Witt of Kansas City? He has hit 400 at home. I mean, Rod, if you're talking about the crazy splits that Bobby Witt Jr. has at home versus away, yeah, they're pretty striking, guys. If you want to put on the tinfoil hat of baseball conspiracy theories of this year, it's definitely one where you can be like, okay, there's something maybe going on here. But Bobby Witt is a terrific player. Like, he's going to push for MVP stuff. But it's really funny to see the splits. It's like Houston Astros type stuff. I'm not saying he's cheating, but like, that's a conspiracy theory that's been tossed around a little bit but Bobby Witt Jr. Is a terrific talent. Like, that's a guy that I would go see play. I would go see a player like him just because he's 5-tool. Absolutely 5-tool.
Yeah, real quick, going back to the movies and stuff, have you seen the clip of Mr. Ed when he was on the Dodgers?
No.
It's pretty funny. If anyone hasn't seen it, you got to look it up. They have Mr. Ed was a horse, and like the joke was he's a talking horse.
Yes, I have seen this. I'd have to watch it again to like find out. Yes, I
runs the bases and slides into home plate.
Okay, I'll have to go back and see it. I remember seeing the black and white, but I don't remember anything about it, but I have seen it before. Oh my God.
Yeah. Great. They don't make TV like that anymore. That's where I can get my boomer rant in.
Man. When young Blake speaks, we listen. You guys better listen. I've been telling you Blake knows ball for a long time. Blake knows ball for sure. Wealth of knowledge. He doesn't forget a damn thing, and he lets me know that. But he can remember it. He remembers a ton. Bucket hat Blake, man. All right.
Without a bucket hat.
I think we're gonna call it. Chat, you guys okay with that?
I think say no if you're asking them.
No, somebody's gonna say we're okay, but I think I'm gonna wrap it before they have a chance. All right, guys. Hour 50. We're not gonna push the 2 hour. I know you always want us to do it to hit the mark, but we're okay. Thanks for tuning into the late one. 8 p.m. starts just like you asked. We love you guys a bunch. Don't forget, hit the like, subscribe button, ring the notification bell. Exciting time coming up. Dodgers have a pretty solid series coming up here against the Rays. Keep an eye out for the rest of the National League West. Division lead. Staying at where it's at. It's just keeping pace. Going to keep getting healthier. Rotation. You might get an addition here with Yamamoto in the coming weeks. Maybe, kind of see what happens. But we've got a taste of what the everyday roster can be. Looking ahead, Jason Heyward designated for assignment. Biggest news of the day, and how that, what that means for guys like Kevin Kiermaier, Tommy Edman, Andy Paz potentially, and how the rotation figures out, and the front office acknowledging that it's winning time. It's definitely a time where you have to put some of these things aside, these leadership conversations, and if they're keeping guys in the roster just because of that. Now it's about playing the best players, and that's really cool to see. Something we've wanted them to do for a bit now. So we're going to keep an eye on that. All things going in. Enjoy the weekend. We'll tune back in on Sunday, Blake and myself, and then we'll go from there. We'll keep tuning in. Guys, stay locked in. Dodger Blue, we bring it to you live as much as humanly possible. Jeff anchoring the stuff. Anthony contributes a bunch, so I wanted to give a big shout out to all of the staff here at Dodger Blue. Thank you to my co-host, Blake Williams, managing editor, Dodger Blue, hardest working person I know. Hit the like, subscribe button, guys. Leave us a comment down below. We'll see you soon, guys. Go Dodgers.